So we're starting V'ez Hashem siman Lamed Gimel in haGuela. And this is a new subject. He says, "Uve'emes harishayim atzmam einam yoidim u'margishim mi manhig u'menahel oisam." The Rishayim, the Zionists, don't realize who is guiding them. Uke'ein shehizbir haradvaz. Tshuva siman Taf Reish Mem Aleph. Inyan hapar b'mei Eliyahu. V'zel Shon Esham. The Radvaz has a response to a question on Navi. Interesting. Usually poskim answer halacha questions, but here the Radvaz answered all kinds of questions. So someone wrote him a question about Pshat in the story in the Medrash, based on the story in the Navi. The story is, Shoal to be many, Od Yacha Daiti b'maise Eliyahu b'har Carmel. That there was a story, Eliyahu proved the vaAl to be false by having a whole gathering on top of Carmel, and the Nevi'ei haBaal and Nevi'ei Asherah were there, and Achav, the king, was there, and Eliyahu gave one part to them and one part to himself, and he told them to put it onto the Mizbeach, but not to light a fire, and he did the same thing, and then he said, whichever God answers with fire is the real God. So, Chazal speak about this, and this is a Medrash Tanchuma in Parshas Maseh. Al pasuk vayikchu es hapar asher nasan lehem Eliyahu. They took the one bull that Eliyahu gave them. So why does it go out of its way to say Eliyahu gave it to them? So Omer le hapar Eliyahu. The bull spoke to Eliyahu. Ani v'chaveri yatzanu mibetin echad. I and my brother, my friend over here, the other the other bull, we both were brothers. We're twins. We came from the same mother. V'godalnu be'evus echad. We grew up in the same feeding trough. We ate from the same food. Hu oila l'chelak hu Elokim v'shem hu Elokim niskadesh alav. He's going to Hashem. He's going as a carbon to Hashem. Ba'ani alisi l'chelak avodah zara. L'hachi says, "Boy, I'm going to have to go and be a carbon to avodah zara." He said, "No, I don't want to do that." So Amar le Eliyahu lechi mahem. Eliyahu told the bull to go with them. Kashem sheshmoy shel Hakadosh Baruch Hu miskadesh al yidei zeh she'imi kach yiskadesh al yodecha. He said, the name of Hashem will also be sanctified through you. Because they're going to see that the vaAl is not going to answer, and they're going to realize that it's false. So Amar Loi the Par said, you're giving me this advice to go to the idol? I'm still not listening. He said, I'm not leaving my place until you yourself hand me over to them. That's why it says Eliyahu gave the par. He had to give it because he didn't want to go by itself. Okay, that's the medrash. So the Radvaz says that his questioner had a problem. It was hard for him to accept this story. Why did Hashem have to do a big miracle and make the cow talk? We heard about the talking donkey of Bilam, right? That's a big deal. The Torah makes a big deal out of it. Over here, he says, why should it happen over here? If Ataka was such a great miracle, why didn't the Torah speak it out explicitly? Why did Chazal have to be the ones to say it? So the Radvaz answers, "V'kas of be'emtzeh dvarav, kfar yadua ki kol ha'adam v'chol bal chai v'chol ilan v'chol esev." Every animal, every plant, yesh lo koach v'sar lamala, has a malach over that guides it. Hilkach saroi v'koicha shel par nizdamin le'Eliyahu. So it wasn't that the bull itself spoke to Eliyahu; it was the malach of the bull that spoke to him. V'heim divrei sarai shel par, was the malach, or koicha, its power, its malach. V'zeh einoi derech neis klal, and it wasn't a miracle. It was just a nevuah that Eliyahu had. And therefore the Torah didn't have to say it, the Navi didn't have to say it. Okay, Razal have many situations like this where inanimate objects are speaking, and they're not really speaking. Now we understand. Now we understand that the people standing there didn't notice that the bull was talking, because it wasn't talking. Yeah, they didn't know what the par said. Only Eliyahu knew about it. But if the worshippers of the Baal would have seen maybe they wouldn't need the whole test. Maybe they would have believed in Hashem right away. You see a talking animal saying that I don't want to go to Avodah Zarah. All they saw was when Eliyahu gave over the par to them, that the par did go in the end willingly to the Avodah Zarah. Only after Eliyahu gave it over. He said, until you give me over your hands. But mashma, once he gave it over with his hands, then the par was willing to do it. So, ad kan loshner avaz, that's the advice. So, what do we see? We see that the Ovdei Baal saw the cow walking towards them, and they said, hey, that means that it's agreeing to go to Avodah Zarah. So what they thought and the reality were two different things. And that's the mashal to what we're talking about here with the Zionists. They want to do something bad. Sometimes they can't achieve their goal. Let's say they want to do something bad. They want to conquer the West Bank or something, right? But let's say they can't do it. They don't have the power to do it, or they can't go against the world. The people are going to be angry at them or whatever, right? So what happens? Now comes the Samach Mem, and he guides them even when they don't realize it. And then they look back and they say, wow, look at the hatzlacha of our war. Things just happened to happen in the right time so that we should get what we wanted, right? And the king of Jordan decided to join the war, even though he was warned to stay out of it. So we see there was Mina Shemayim that we should get to conquer Yerushalayim and whatever, right? So what does that mean? They think, look, events are leading towards our hatzlacha. That shows that the events are for our sake. That means that we're right. It's a miracle, right? But really, it's the other way around. Really, it's the Samach Mem that's leading them. Or in the case of the par, you see what was happening. Why did the par go to the Ovdei Baal? So that they could put it on the Mizbeach and prove that the Baal was false. So they thought they were proving that the Baal was true, but meanwhile it was coming to prove them false. So who knows? Maybe the events of the 6 Day War were there to prove the Zionists were false. You know, you see what's going on now with the Zionists. What did they do? They conquered the West Bank, right? How many Yidden are in the West Bank? At that time, none, right? Maybe now today there's a few 100,000. Then there were none. Now, how many Arabs are over there? Tons, 3-4 million, right? So they're bringing within their borders, and because of the settlements, they can't really give back anymore. Even though they officially on paper they still have the two-state solution, they don't want to give it back, right? They can't give back the West Bank, so they're going to keep it, and they're going to keep all those Arabs within their borders, and those Arabs are going to overwhelm the population of the state, and then they won't be a state. Won't be a Jewish state. So,
they should do that.
In other words, the point is that what they think is a raya to their hatzlacha, and something is leading to their victory, is really going to lead to their downfall. We see with our own eyes, and he says, "B'frat b'doireinu hashafal." We see in our low generation, "Sharashayim oisim kamad dvarim shehem keneged haseichel afil l'shitasam." Even according to the Zionists themselves, some of the things they did were kind of stupid. He says, why would they do these things? Now, I don't know what the Rebbe is referring to, because we can say examples today. We see that, like I said just now, they're settling the West Bank, they're making it impossible to give it back. We see that they're supporting the yeshivas. I was going to say that from the 70s onwards, from Begin onwards, they support the yeshivas. Now, why would they do that? Right? So, they do things that are connected to Seichel, afilu l'shitasam. Now, what did the Rebbe mean in 67 when he said these words? Not sure. Could be he was referring to, let's say in the 48 war, the Zionists they made decisions that were really bad for themselves. Like, the UN gave them a certain area for the partition plan. If they would have stuck with that area, they wouldn't have had almost any casualties. Most of the casualties happened because they went against the Legion of Jordan, and they tried to take Yerushalayim, and they tried to take the Gush Etzion, and a bunch of other things, right? That's where most of the casualties happened. But other than that, if they would have just taken what the UN gave them, then they wouldn't have had that problem. So maybe he means that's Keneged HaSeichel. All right, the Heim Atzmam Einam Yoidim. They themselves don't realize Ki Satan Hu Shemasa Oisam Umachricham Lasois Kain. The Satan is the one who's making them do these decisions that seem foolish at the time, but really it's for a purpose of leading them astray.